Well, hello there, folks. It's Federico Cardella with Inspo News. And as I've told you before, when we report a story, regardless of how specific that particular story is that given day, we always try to relate it to the bigger picture of what the globalist New World Order is doing. And so Donald Trump tweeted something today that was very fascinating. You got to love this guy. I mean, he is an honest guy. He speaks from his heart. He speaks from his gut. How refreshing. He hates teleprompters, hates prepared talking points. The man's honest. He's a good piece of old-fashioned Americana. They don't make him like Donald Trump any longer. And I'm telling you, what he tweeted was fascinating because what he said was this. Why is it that Hillary Clinton's, all of her crimes, that there's actual hard evidence on, emails, tangible things that people have leaked, where we've seen the evidence. Why is it that she's not been investigated? Why is it that there's no special counsel appointed to research and to look into her situation? Why is it just Donald Trump? And we're going to list for you right off the get-go here a bunch of things that have been done that were not investigated or touched by Jim Comey. Hopefully, Mueller, this new special counsel, will look into it. But the fact is, the left wing and Hillary Clinton have Trump back on his heels again, and unnecessarily. They have been proactive. They have taken the initiative. It's Donald Trump who's got the special counsel investigating him for nothing. And she's looking like her side of the coin is looking like the lion roaring. Oh, I mean, the roles have been reversed here because he's getting bad advice. He should have been on the attack. Now that she's attacked him, now that the left wing's attacked him, now that the left and the rhinos have gotten a special counsel to look into Donald's situation, I would think that could be cold water in his face, and now he needs to wake up, shake it off, come up, get off the canvas, and beat that 10 count, and get up and fight him back like the lion you really are, Donald. That's what the country needs to see. Let the war happen. That's what we elected you to do. We didn't elect you to come up there and become another George Bush, another neocon president, another rhino, kind of a DNC type candidate. Some ill-advised advisors want to make Donald Trump look like that's not Donald Trump. You know, and I know you want to stay positive and you want to keep moving the country forward on a unified front, but it's not going to happen, Donald. They're not going to unify with you ever. You've got to stand for truth, and truth has few friends. So what? It's the truthful people. It's the basic base that got you elected, that loves the truth and that loves American patriotism, that loves this constitutional republic. You need to stand for them. Forget trying to please everybody. You're not going to be able to do it. I mean, Donald Trump has tried to unite the country. He's tried this strategy. Okay, that's what he was told to do. Be a uniter, not a divider. And it's not working. He's got to lead with truth. Truth always divides. I mean, God divided the night from the day. He divided good from evil, the sheep from the goats. I mean, division is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing. You know, you separate the wheat from the chaff up there in D.C., and that's what Trump needs to do. But he's getting advice, be a unifier at all costs, don't prosecute Hillary, don't go into the past, look to the future, just talk about jobs. It's all baloney. He's got to do the right thing, and that means Lady Justice needs to be fulfilled. If he doesn't do that, he's going to have a rough time if he can even make it through the first term. I mean, these people are out to destroy him. He's got to fight back. And if I was advising him, I would tell him to do so immediately, to line up all the evidence that he can in his Justice Department, to hire all the best young attorneys from Campbell University, Hillsdale College, and all, Liberty and all the other conservative colleges and law schools that he can find, and get those kids working on finding dirt and getting these people prosecuted that have committed crimes. And they committed all these crimes and are getting away with murder, literally. This has got to stop. He needs to stop watching Fox News so much. People like Dana Perino, Bushites, and New World Order people like that who hated him now that he's elected. Oh, they're so much into giving him advice. I mean, Reince Priebus and these different people in his inner circle, I don't know. There's a lot of globalists in there, but that's not what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a roaring lion. Donald Trump is a strong leader. Donald Trump wants justice. Donald Trump should take care of domestic politics first, because Trump did nothing proactive to attack Hillary and the left wing. And so what are they doing to him? They're doing exactly what she did to him in the first debate. He tried to be nice to her, tried to give her an olive branch. She went after him with daggers. I told them then, he can't do that. You can't make him look presidential. He's got to be Donald Trump. They're doing the same thing with his governance. The same thing. But Donald Trump the lion is about to roar. Politically speaking, he and Jeff Sessions are about to drop a legal Moab bomb on these crooks in D.C. So first of all, let me tell all of you who have been listening, I do appreciate and love you guys. And I'm standing together with you to fight for the freedom and liberty of this great republic, because I know you believe in America and you believe in this president, and that there's a special mantle on him to carry out a great destiny. And that our purpose is to inform, educate, inspire, and pray for America and this, our 45th President of the United States. And we thank heaven for putting him in the White House to save this nation, which was seriously on the ropes, but now has a real chance to realize her full potential, which will be a blessing to you, your family, your children, and their children. So consider being a patron. We need your support to keep these newscasts going.
So I said, yes, I did prepare for the debate, and I'll tell you something else I prepared for. I prepared for being president. And I think, you know, it's not exactly headline grabbing. I understand that. But, you know, I can't be anything other than who I am. And I spent decades learning about what it would take to move our country forward, including people who, you know, clearly didn't vote for me. To try to make sure that we dealt with a lot of these hard issues that...
I mean, this woman will just not go away. She is so power hungry and so depressed that she's out of power, that she's just haranguing in front of this silly group of left-wing loony women. She needs to go on with her life and be thankful that she's not in prison right now. I mean, there's something sad, almost incorrigible about this whole thing.
Try to make sure that we dealt with a lot of these hard issues that are right around the corner, like robotics and artificial intelligence, and things that are really going to be upending the economy for the vast majority of Americans, to say nothing of the rest of the world. So, you know, I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance. You know, I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance. I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance. I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance.
I mean, Washington, D.C., the swamp has never seen a lion like this before. I mean, these corrupt politicians and operatives up there are in for a big surprise because America is under new management. And they just don't get it. That Donald Trump hits back, and he hits back hard, especially if he's got nothing to hide. And in this case, he doesn't. The man's done nothing wrong. He's trying to lead, and these little nitpickers are just pecking at his little heels, and they're about to get stomped on. I mean, Hillary Rodham is about to get smacked on the side of the head with a 2x4 legally. She has no understanding of what's coming down on her now. I think Donald Trump truly wanted to unite the country at one point and was willing to be magnanimous with her. But look at what he gets instead. An et tu Brutus stab in the back. by her friends in the press and her operatives in Washington. And she's going to get through this without paying a price? I don't think so. Now there's going to be really some investigation going on with her. Be expecting heads to roll. And thank God for it. God is a just God. And this country needs Lady Justice restored. And Donald J. Trump is just the righteous leader this country needs right now to bring that to pass. Mark my words, he is planning his next chess moves very wisely, and you're going to see federal marshals showing up at people's homes that they never expected, and you're going to see them being let out in manacles. I'm telling you, it's going to happen, and it needs to happen. This corruption runs so deep, and it's been so long running awry in Washington, and it's time for a change. And we here at Inspo News are going to be there to report it and to give you the heads up, because we are news before the news.
Picked up the Washington Post, and the headline read, "Trump takes power." I don't think so. Here's the power. New president vows to end American carnage. Mr. Trump, we are here to vow to end the Trump carnage.
But this whole Seth Rich thing now has a life of its own thanks to Julian Assange, who just about, look at this interview, he just about admits that was his source who was killed. And you can see the grief on his face. And for the first time, he broke his own rule, intimating who a source was. But since it's posthumous and the man is dead, he feels an obligation to risk his own journalistic, propriety, to risk everything that company WikiLeaks stands for, which is confidentiality and protection of sources. I mean, the New York Times, their tip line was de-encrypted by the CIA and NSA years ago, and anyone who left an anonymous tip there, the CIA knew about it. I mean,
whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago. For unknown reasons, as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
Now try and just imagine this scenario for one moment. Here, Seth Rich is brought into the hospital by the emergency squad. He was shot in a very high-end neighborhood. It's one of the more popular neighborhoods of D.C. So, he was shot 3 times in the back, and nothing was taken from him. It wasn't a robbery. I mean, whoever shot him thought he was dead. I mean, hit him all the right places. But now, just in the last few days, a surgeon who worked on him, one of the surgeons, came out and said that the 3 bullet wounds went in through the back, exited out the abdomen, and nicked the liver, but none of them were life-threatening. He wasn't even on compressors or life support or anything. He was just in ICU as a precaution, and they expected him to fully recover. And about an hour after the operation, a bunch of law enforcement officers, possibly CIA, they don't know. It could have been DC police with CIA, FBI, we don't know. But he just said a bunch of law enforcement federal officers came in and basically commandeered the ICU. And for an hour, they wouldn't let the doctors get in to see him or anything. And actually, the one surgeon was forbidden, and the nursing team, to see him the entire night. That he was guarded by these law enforcement officials. And the next morning, when the surgeon came in to see how he was doing, expecting a full recovery, he's dead. And the law enforcement's leaving. Now, this is bizarre. So it's apparently true now that the federal government and the media are trying to discredit the surgeon and the nurse there. They're also trying to discredit, as usual, Julian Assange. Folks, there's some very high up people in the intelligence community, possibly in the shadow government, the alternative government, most likely the same sinister people that are calling the shots against Donald Trump right now to try to get him impeached. The same people that fund the anarchists, the left-wingers, the Antifa, all those people. It's the same group of people that are orchestrating this ensemble against Donald Trump to try to get him impeached, to make up all this stuff. They're funding actual people, the attorneys, the ACLU. It's the same people. My question is, who are these people? They're trying to kill the WikiLeaks founder. And Julian Assange, who is not a Russian agent, is a brave journalist who's got great sources, who's been persecuted and sequestered. And thank God that the Swedish government had to abandon the rape charge. I mean, there was never a girl, and believe me, with the girlfriends he has, he didn't need to rape anyone. A lot of women liked him naturally. That wasn't something he needed to do or did do. I mean, this is, again, the pot calling the kettle black, accusing your enemies of what you do yourselves. I mean, you talk about people who commit acts of perversion and rape. Look at Epstein Island. Look at Pedophile Island. Look at the trips that Weiner and Bill Clinton and those people did. They are the ones pointing the finger at Assange. He never did anything. They just used that against him to try to shut him up. They've tried to assassinate him. And here he comes out with this Seth Rich situation. And for the first time, we're seeing a possible direct tie between Hillary Rodham Clinton and the death of this precious young man. God bless him and his family. And so this guy was gotten tired of looking at all the corruption and the inner workings of the DNC. And, you know, there are seven people associated with this, including a federal investigator, who are all dead from one reason or another within a year's period. And these people were aged 25 to 55. You know, so when Donald Trump tells a Russian ambassador that he's dealing with a real nutcase in Jim Comey, he's got a real good point. I mean, there's Bill Clinton in all of his glory, or inglorious, meeting with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac there and asking, obviously, about the situation with Hillary Clinton. A total crime, a total travesty of justice. Then after Hillary Clinton was under sworn oath and subpoenaed, okay, she destroyed by bleach spitting away 33,000 emails, which, interestingly enough, Julian Assange seemed to have a lot of them. It may very well be that his source was Seth Rich, who gave him many of those incriminating emails between her, Podesta, the collusion against Bernie, the collusion with the left-wing establishment media and the press against Donald Trump to rig the debates, to rig the election, to rig all the interviews and the questions asked on all the television shows. I mean, to think who ordered that law enforcement group to go in there and commandeer that poor boy's ICU room when he's struggling to recover, and all of a sudden they leave in the morning and he's dead? Come on, folks, this needs to be investigated. Add to that the Uranium One deal, whereas Secretary of State with her buddy Frank Giestra and the Russian company Uranium One, which got 20% of rare Wyoming uranium deposits from the United States, she was paid millions for that. And no doubt some of that ended up in the hand of the crazy mullahs, who also got $150 billion in taxes and incentives, and used a lot of that money to probably buy that uranium back from the Russians. So it was a circle of money, a circle of treason. Why didn't Jim Comey look into any of that? So Comey doesn't look into Seth Rich, rather he suppresses it. From what I understand, he told D.C. police investigators to get lost. He doesn't investigate the 33,000 emails. He doesn't investigate the uranium sale to Russia. He doesn't investigate the Clintons' meeting with Loretta Lynch while she's under investigation on a tarmac in an airport with the Attorney General, then Loretta Lynch. He didn't look into Hillary Clinton storing classified information illegally, feloniously, on a private server kept in her bathroom and only protected for national security purposes by a simple Gmail account. Talk about breaking the law as a Secretary of State and putting American lives and national security at risk. I mean, mishandling classified information is a felony. But oh no, Jim Comey didn't look into any of that, nor did he look into the big lies with her and Susan Rice about Benghazi. Nothing of that was looked at, and we had an ambassador killed, for goodness sakes, and 3 U.S. heroes, and she lied over the coffins at the airport in front of the families that were grieving. No, Jim Comey didn't look into any of that. Neither did his little ratty Andrew McCabe deputy assistant to him look into anything either. No, they were too busy trying to make up dirt on Donald Trump. Add to that, when Hillary Clinton then appeared before the judiciary committees in Congress, she lied under oath about the Benghazi situation. She lied about a fake video. She slept through the night. She went back to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning while those boys were dying, asking for help with Delta Force. No, Jim Comey and his little wuss, Andrew McCabe, didn't look into any of that. Then to top it all off, they're doing illegal, felonious surveillance of the Trump family, Donald Trump, Trump Towers, the Trump campaign, to see if there's any kind of Russian connection. And when there wasn't, they tried to make some stuff up. Who knows? Maybe using Umbric software provided by the CIA and that traitor, that Muslim traitor, John Brennan and James Clapper. They were probably planning on putting Donald Trump's digital fingerprints on a URL or an IP address to make it look like it was originating from him, because they can get on and off the computers at the Trump Towers without any difficulty. But no, they surveilled Mike Flynn, and then they unmasked him illegally. Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Ben Rhodes, Obama himself. Who knows? But Jim Comey didn't look at any of that, did he? No, he allowed for the illegal surveillance of Donald Trump and a possible disruption of the entire electoral process of the United States of America. These people should hang for this. They should be tried and hanged. Traitors all. Jim Comey should have gone back in the time machine to old Eric Holder and the sale of Fast and Furious. Yes, my friend, those weapons ended up in the hands of drug lords, and some of them were sold to ISIS. That weaponry was used in the Batalon concert hall. One of those guns was registered to Eric Holder and Obama, and those kids were shot to death by a multi-shot M16, good old U.S. American-made M16 that was given out by Eric Holder. Why didn't Comey or little Andrew McCabe, his little whiner, why didn't those guys look into that crime? I tell you, all of this is treason, and these guys need to be brought to justice. The sooner the better. May the lions of Jeff Sessions and Donald Trump begin to roar. And they're all dead. Anyone investigating Hillary Clinton that was getting hot, remember the Marco Polo in the pool, Marco Polo, and you try to get closer and closer. And as they got closer to Marco Polo, they ended up 6 feet under. And of course, Marco Polo is Hillary Rodham Clinton. And this woman now has the gall to be out there, touting that now she's part of the resistance, a citizens' resistance. What a joke. What a loser. I guess George Soros got tired of her walking through the woods with her dog Seamus and had to get her back out there because he put $1 billion into her. Probably told her, look, lady, we put $1 billion in you being a loser. You need to get out there and keep the people active that we recruited. Because we're a bunch of losers now because of you. And I mean, that's the only reason why she's doing anything that she's doing. She probably has to. She can't, retire. She's got too many sins, too many crimes. She owes too much to the inner circle of the New World Order. And you can see that tall, lanky, sniveling little FBI lying director who was conspiring with John Brennan and James Clapper, Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett, and I think Obama as well. All those people were conspiring to, like a police state, to usurp the counter-American, pro-American nationalist movement of Donald J. Trump. I mean, they were spying on Trump people, Trump family, Trump businesses, Trump Towers, Trump himself. General Mike Flynn was another sacrificial lamb. And here you got Trey Gowdy. I mean, what a great job, interrogating this big fat liar, this big pervert, Jim Comey, this guy who totally disrupted the greatest law enforcement agency on earth, the FBI, with his political showboating and his little "look at me, I'm in a Sunday school dress, mommy" attitude. I mean, this guy loves the green room, loved the monitor, loved being in the limelight when he should be doing his work as the FBI director. But I mean, look at Trey Gowdy roast this guy and really indirectly say, theoretically, Jim Comey, you're a crook, and the American people are tired of you. Jim Comey, you and Brennan and Clapper and Ben Rhodes and Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice. I mean, look at the people he named here. The only person he left off was the Big O, and I hope they get to him soon. But they actually used the entire executive branch of our government, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, 15 other intelligence agencies, to spy on Americans.
In this public reporting include the word transcript, which has a very unique use in the matters that you and I are discussing this morning. That is a very unique use of that word. Wiretap has a very specific meaning. The name of a U.S. citizen that was supposed to statutorily be protected is no longer protected. So some of this reporting, let's assume 90% of it is inaccurate. That other 10% is still really, really important. And to the extent that you can rely on the dates in either the Washington Post or the New York Times, we are talking about February of this year is when the reporting first took place. So we're a month and a half and 2 months into something that you and I agree is incredibly important and also happens to be a felony. So I'm just simply asking you to assure the American people, you've already assured them you take it really seriously. Can you assure them that it is going to be investigated?
Can't, but I hope people watching know how seriously we take leaks of classified information, but I don't want to confirm it by saying that we're investigating it. And I'm sorry I have to draw that line. I just think that's the right way to be.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you, Director Comey, but it is, we're going to discuss a lot of important things today. Do you know whether Director Clapper knew the name of the U.S. citizen that appeared in the New York Times and Washington Post?
Can't say in this forum because, again, I don't want to confirm that there was classified information in the newspaper.
Would he have access to an unmasked name?
In some circumstances, sure. He was the Director of National Intelligence, but I'm not talking about the particular.
Would Director Brennan have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
In some circumstances, yes.
Would National Security Advisor Susan Rice have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
I think yes, in general, and any other National Security Advisor would, I think, as a matter of their ordinary course of their business.
Would former White House advisor Ben Rhodes have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
I don't know the answer to that.
Would former Attorney General Loretta Lynch have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
In general, yes, as would any Attorney General.
So that would also include Acting AG Sally Yates?
Same answer.
Did you brief President Obama on, I'll just ask you, did you brief President Obama on any calls involving Michael Flynn?
I'm not going to get into either that particular case, that matter, or any conversations I had with the President, so I can't answer that.
Well, Director Comey, there's been some speculation this morning on motive. I'm not all that interested in motive. First of all, it's really hard to prove. Secondarily, you never have to prove it. But I get that people want to know. I get the jury always wants to know why. I think you and I can agree there are a couple of reasons that you would not have to unlawfully, feloniously disseminate classified material. It certainly wasn't done to help an ongoing criminal investigation because you already had the information, didn't you?
And I can't answer in the context of this particular matter.
How about in theory? Is there something a reporter would have access to that the head of the FBI would not?
It's hard for me to answer. I would hope not when it relates to the
I would hope not too, since it's part of our surveillance programs. I would hope that you had access to everything as the head of the world's premier law enforcement agency. I would hope that you had it all.
God bless you, Trey. And we need to see more of that. but with actual indictments, special prosecutors, subpoenas, manacles, federal agents visiting people's homes in the middle of the night. I'd like to see Hillary Clinton go out at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, that was a time when she was asleep while they were killing all the people, all the heroes, the American heroes in Benghazi, while she went back to sleep and they were calling for help. And she could have sent Delta Force or any number of things down the military command, and she was tired. I don't want to hear anymore. I need my rest. That old low energy, sickly woman. I mean, she's disgusting, and she's a traitor, and she needs to go to jail. Yes, lock her up. And boy, this Seth Rich thing might not just lock her up. She could get the death penalty if it's tied to her and his unnecessary murder. A young man walking down the street. Nobody robbed him in a very nice neighborhood in Washington, D.C. His watch was there. His wallet was there. It wasn't a robbery. He was assassinated by hit people from the Clinton Foundation. I'm sure people of the New World Order. Either Hillary Clinton or people in the DNC or people involved with George Soros took that kid out and took out 6 other people within a 6-month period. And look at them here. God rest their souls. I'm telling you, justice is still asking Trey Gowdy. You know, Jeff Shavitz is going to retire. I don't blame him. I mean, look at the mess in Washington. He wants to go home to Utah and, you know, feed the sheep. Good for him. But may the judiciary committees have people of the ilk of Trey Gowdy, both in the Senate and the Congress. May Jeff Sessions stop recusing himself and acting like a kiddie and get out there and be the man that he really is, a great prosecutor, a great American, a great Christian man, a sterling man who the globalists, the DNC, the Hillary Clinton people tried to destroy because he talked to an ambassador as a senator. I mean, they tried to destroy the man over that. I mean, he needs to strike back. Donald Trump is striking back. Jeff Sessions needs to strike back. The kingdom of righteousness needs to strike back. The nationalists strike back. Well, all you American patriots out there, hit them hard with truth. Well, we're going to tell you the news just like it is. And we're going to tell you the news before the news. Because we're kind of predictive here. A little bit prophetic. I mean, we got an ear to the ground spiritually. We love the Lord and we love America. We are proud of our new president and we're with him. We don't care about the good days, the bad days, the sunny days, the rainy days, the insinuations, the false charges, and all the other stuff that's going to be coming at him for the next 7 years. We know it's going to come. We know the forces of evil are real, that Lucifer is real on this planet, and that there are Luciferians at the highest level of government, pedophiles, perverts, corrupt people, who are totally reprobate concerning truth, people with seared consciousness who serve the forces of evil, and they're going to be continuing to come at our nation and come at our 45th president, Donald Trump. And we're here with our prayers, with our reports, and with the raw truth to warn the people. And like Paul Revere, to tell them the tyrants are coming. The British, King Old George is coming to bring tyranny to the colonies. And that's what we're doing here at Inspo News. We're nothing but a sound piece. We are nothing but a voice. But isn't that fascinating that it's just Donald Trump who's in the crosshairs here? And my question is, what's the ensemble here? What's the orchestra? Who's conducting this? Why is it that it's just Donald Trump in the crosshairs? Now, you hear the media, the liberal media on Fox News and CBS and NBC and CNN and their crazy think tanks over there, Rachel Maddow's CNBC, who will all say that Donald Trump is bringing this on himself. Really? I don't think so. But it seems to me there's a shadow government operating here. There's a group of people meeting somewhere in Washington that are plotting Donald Trump's undoing.
President Trump perhaps referring to Houston Congressman Al Green's call
for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America for obstruction of justice.
No, maybe it's to get a globalist, a more moderate GOP establishment guy in there who they say, oh, he knows the ropes. He knows how Washington operates, like Mike Pence. Well, we don't want to know how Washington operates. We don't like the way Washington operates. We want a new thing. We want an Andrew Jackson who will destroy the corrupt swamp system. We didn't elect the guy to learn the ropes of the Washington insiders. So, why are they touting Mike Pence this way? And why are even some GOP people murmuring that, Paul Ryan would make a great VP, and wouldn't it be great to have the moderate Pence in there as president? I mean, this is disgusting to hear Republicans talking about Donald Trump as if he's going to be gone within the next year.
Bob, the only thing I can say is I think we've seen this movie before. I think it's reaching a point where it's of Watergate size and scale and a couple of other scandals that you and I have seen. It's a centipede and the shoe continues to drop. And every couple of days there's a new aspect of this really unhappy situation.
I mean, it was almost like a water dancing synchronization, a choreography of traitors between rhinos like John McCain. He's a disgusting traitor. He's always been a traitor. With DNC operatives, New World Order globalist concerns like Soros, socialists and anarchists, Black Lives Matter, left-wing entertainment industry, the godforsaken DNC, all working in concert for one common goal. Without reason, destroy Donald Trump and hurt this country from making progress. I mean, we never even did that with Obama, and look at all the sins and the evils this man committed, the crimes. And yet, nothing for Hillary, nothing for John Brennan, nothing for James Clapper, nothing for Valerie Jarrett, nothing on Ben Rhodes, nothing on Susan Rice, who unmasked and revealed, leaks, and surveilled illegally people in the Trump administration and at Trump Towers, including Donald Trump himself. None of this has been investigated by anybody, including Jim Comey. And so it is unfair. It's not just, but worse than that, someone is orchestrating this. It's like there's a shadow government, an alternative government calling the shots and saying we're at war with Donald Trump, and this goes across party lines. This is a globalist thing. And that's what really concerns me. That's the scary thing here. Is Donald Trump has done nothing with the Russians, but how could the concert or the cacophony of the left-wing press, the establishment media, along with the DNC, rhinos, globalists, deep state people, all unite and be synchronized like a bunch of ballerinas and ballet people? I mean, this is a dance going on. This is choreographed. This is orchestrated. But by who? That's my question. And it's disgusting to see this treason is so deep in our government. And it's almost like Donald Trump's voice is trying to be drowned out. That's why, Donald, you need to stick close to your base. We the people. You need Steve Bannon and the people that are closest to loving this country's constitution, loving this country's faith, loving this country's patriotism. Those are the people you need to be listening to.
I have faith that there are Republican congresspeople who will stand up and do the right thing. The evidence against Trump and Russia is huge and mounting every day. We see it. He can't lie about it. He's going down, and so are all of his administration. The charge is treason.
Law is king, lex rex, that's the old Latin term for it. No one's above the law, and yet this Sally Yates and this James Clapper sit there so smug, so slick in their lies. And it's just ridiculous. Obviously, they were surveilling Donald Trump. Obviously, they both knew about it. Obviously, they were trying to disrupt the electoral process and in some way hurt Trump, delegitimize him. They're globalists. And they just sit there and lie to Ted Cruz, lie to Senator Lindsey Graham, who, by the way, is no friend of Trump. He's a good friend of McCain. Both of them are traitors against the Republican Party. They don't care about the GOP. They're rhinos, and they're globalists, and they hate Donald Trump. But they let this woman get off scot-free. I mean, here Senator Lindsey Graham is running down to shake her hand while she snubs him and then walks out of that place like she owns it, toddling away like a duck who just beat the brains out of a spineless Senate committee. She pretended like she was like a Supreme Court justice judging on the constitutionality of a Donald Trump immigration policy that she was trying to say she couldn't obey out of her conscience. Well, that to me is insubordination. That's treason against your president. And it's also betraying the public trust and the national security of the American people. This woman should be disbarred and put in prison. I mean, it's not her place to judge on the constitutionality of a law or not. Even if she is an Obama holdover, a Hillaryite, a left-wing nut from the last administration as a temporary interim AG, she doesn't have the right to do that. That's up to the Supreme Court. Now, she can refer something to a court of proper authority to make a decision on that. You can even file a legal brief protesting the law to a court of higher jurisdiction, but they must make that decision. She had no right to freeze that executive order of Donald Trump's. Who's ever heard of this? This is treason in our government. These people are liars, and it's getting old to watch Lindsey Graham run down there at the end while she can snub him, and the little ducky can walk away, waddle away, like she's some high-end falutin attorney. This woman should be disbarred. She should be prosecuted. This is a slap in the face to the United States of America and the rule of law. Now, regarding President Donald Trump's first foreign trip overseas, after day 2, he's already won several foreign policy initiatives and has some successes, but there are some potential pitfalls as well. Now, every good American should want him to succeed, and it's no different here at Inspo News. We certainly want him to succeed, because that's what's good for America. And I appreciate him going to Saudi Arabia first and trying to make amends with the Wahhabi nation. He and Ivanka have given some very beautiful speeches, well contrived, well thought out, full of love, peace, and compassion, but that's not enough. There are 110 violent, abusive, intolerant texts toward infidels, toward women, toward Christians and Jews, toward gays, etc. and ad nauseum in the Quran that have been there since 630 AD. These words are axiomatic and immutable. They're transcendent. And no matter if a U.S. president says some nice things about Islam and tries to build unity, it's just not going to ever happen. One just needs to read Surah 4 regarding the oppression of women, or Surah chapter 5 regarding the persecution of non-Muslims, infidels, Jews and Christians, and the holy jihad, or Surah chapter 9 verse 29 and verses following regarding the persecution of Muslims who leave the faith, death penalty, honor killings, female mutilation. It's all there, and it's all of its ugliness. And sadly, as long as there's a substantial percentage of Muslims who believe that Muhammad is the prophet of Allah, there will always be people who will believe in that, no matter what Donald Trump's good intentions. And here we see him speaking to the Saudi Arabians, and it's a marvelous thing. I think Donald did a great job. We absolutely love our president and pray for him. But the fact is, how much fruit will this bear? It's worth the noble effort, no doubt. But what I'm trying to say is, shouldn't we be more trying to manage Islam rather than reform it? No one will ever be able to reform Islam in its totality. There are too many extremist texts. It's not extremist or radical Islam. It's radical extremist text of the religion itself found in the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Hadith. I mean, until those are outlawed, until the book is quarantined or banned, it will always produce hornets, angry hornets. Now, the very kind and affable king of Saudi Arabia, King Salman, has been very hospitable to our president, and Donald Trump did a genius stroke of business by contracting for hundreds of millions of dollars in new defense contracts between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States, and the people that have benefited from that, hundreds of thousands of new American jobs. Lockheed Martin and other defense contractors around the country are just popping the champagne tonight. So that's a great job. And it seems that Donald Trump's message for the moderate Muslims to crack down on the extremists, the radicals, might have some success. I mean, look, they just built that kind of Disney-like expo center under the tent there. It's a kind of a show, more bells and whistles than actual substance. They have 350 computer workers there, but I mean, it's just basically a big screen. What I'm trying to tell you is this, that very center where they're tracking extremists could be infiltrated already with Wahhabi spies who are actually telling their Wahhabi brothers in ISIS or Al-Qaeda or al-Nusra what the Saudis are up to. So that could already be compromised, number one. Number two, who's to say that the religious thought police of Saudi Arabia aren't going to monitor Christians, Jews, Yazidis, and other religious minorities within their own society? So we already know that Saudi Arabia is in a very oppressive, tyrannical state against women and against religious minorities. They want to build all the mosques in the world in Europe and the United States, but of course, we can't build a Christian church or a Jewish synagogue in their country. So I think this whole thing's a little hypocritical, and I actually think that intelligence center, high-tech intelligence center they showed off to Donald Trump with a little globe there everybody laid their hands on. I mean, that was cute. It was Disney-like. But the bottom line is, this isn't Universal Studios. These people believe in the Quran, and the Quran calls for the extermination of Jews and Christians. It's just that simple. The founder was demonized, and this is a spiritual problem, not a geopolitical problem. And until Donald Trump understands that, we're going to have more difficulties. As a matter of fact, we're going to have more Islamization of America with this kind of a policy as Muslims and goodwill, it seems, is promoted. More Muslims will come into this country, and we're in trouble. The United States will be in a world of trouble. No matter what the good talk, good gestures, trade and commerce. I know they have the old saying, world peace through world trade, but it doesn't work. People have evil natures. There is a spiritual dimension here that very possibly Ivanka and Donald Trump are not considering. Goodwill doesn't go very far when you have tenacious texts that are spiritually implanted there by the devil himself to destroy this planet. I am concerned that this Disney-like intelligence, high-tech intelligence center could not possibly be used against Christians at some point in the future. We know he's going to see the Pope. I mean, here's a man who's an international socialist, New World Order, wants to unite the religions of Christendom with Islam, call it Chrislam. He's a very dangerous guy. He's also allowed for pedophilia to go basically checked amongst its priests. They're not even disciplined. So I've got real issues with this Pope. I think he's a very much communista, and it's just sad. And so, if he's thinking he's going to go over there and, meet the head of the Christian world, Donald needs to understand that the Pope is not the head of the Christian world. There are patriarchs in Russia and the Coptic Church. There are other popes and the Greek Orthodox Church. There are patriarchs in the Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox churches. There are evangelical leaders. There are Pentecostal leaders. There are many different billions of Christians in this world that have nothing to do with the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church actually is hurting for money right now because of all the lawsuits and all the covered sins. He's now going over to Astana to meet with his ecumenical councils there because Sultan Nazarbayev is willing to pay for it. I mean, he who has the gold rules, and Astana has become another New World Order city, just like Riyadh. And it seems like the balance of power is tilting a little bit to the Islamic world. That's not good for women, and that's not good for Christians and Jews. And I'm not thinking that Netanyahu's so into this unhappy alliance with Saudi Arabia. As you know, the Arabic saying is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, the Wahhabis will always consider the Jew and the Christian an enemy because it's built into their mentality since they were children, since they were raised in the madrasa, that this is righteous, that there's a war of Allah against the infidel. And I'm sorry, they're not going to change it. I mean, if Ivanka and Melania were to be there as private citizens and walk around without headscarves on, they would be put in jail. They would be followed by the thought police. They would be in trouble if they were Saudi Arabian women. So this is a little hypocritical. However, I appreciate that the Trumps didn't compromise our Western values like the Obamas, and that they're doing a really good job. I love their speeches, but it's just all much to do about nothing other than of course, the business deals, the commerce, and the defense industry deal. But the fact is that this is not going to make the world more peaceful necessarily. Remember, the Quran is a very violent, felonious book. It encourages felonies. I don't think you can reform it. I think you need to control it. You need to manage it. And I think that's the tack I wish Donald Trump would take more of. Jesus Christ, when he comes to this world and rules it with a rod of iron as a benign theocratic dictator, which will have more peace and liberty than ever under Christ. But until then, there is no chance for world peace. It just isn't. There has to be managed. It has to be somehow brokered. And I don't think we're going to get this reformed Islam that everybody thinks they're going to get. I mean, I know that Mike Pence is wrong the other day in Indonesia. That's hardly a model or inspiring version of peaceful Islam. I mean, they bulldoze down Christian churches there that are growing. People want to hear the loving message of Jesus, the tolerant message of Jesus. And as the church grows, well, the Muslims get jealous and they just bulldoze down the church. And if somebody happens to be inside, well, they're dead infidels. So, I mean, they are so persecuted over there, the Christian church in Indonesia, and Mike's touting it as a, he's got an Islamic problem. I mean, they really think that you can build bridges with Islam, and the Islamic leaders will play that game, but only for their own purposes, because you'll notice in their nations, they will not tolerate Christian churches, even in the so-called moderate Republican nation of Indonesia, which touts religious pluralism. Mike Pence said they're bulldozing down Christian churches. They're persecuting Christian candidates that got elected to the Jakarta, governorship there. I mean, you got to look at the reality of the fruit of what's really happening on the ground. And if they get into our country, yes, they will persecute us as believers, us as freedom-loving Americans, as secularists, and they will persecute our women and all forms of religious minorities. So I'm not so, putting a happy face on all this Islam stuff. I do wish Donald Trump the best. We love him. We pray for him. He's a great president. We're proud of him. But I just think this is wishful thinking.
I mean, look at this foreign trip. It's almost as if every chess move, every statement and action he does is purposeful and something that's projected to have an impact either several weeks or several months down the road. For example, take the G7. Now, he's going over to meet in this trip some 25, 27 foreign leaders. And here he was, even in the campaign, assuming he was going to win, saying that he wanted to pull out of NATO. Well, that upset a lot of people. It really upset the apple cart, but that's what Donald Trump does. He's a deal maker. He's a negotiator. He's a brilliant strategist. And so for almost the last year, these European leaders have been mulling all this over. And guess what? He's going to get them to give up about 2% of their GNP to start paying for their share of NATO, which means a whole bunch of GNP and a whole bunch of cash and capital left in this country to help the American worker and the American people. You see, this is the Trumpercon doctrine. This is the Donald Trump doctrine. And the Trumpercon is not like the neocon. The neocon puts the other nations first, but Donald Trump puts America first. Yeah, he'll do some globalism if it's pragmatist, if it's practical and helps the American economy, the American worker, and our nationalist government. So we're already beginning to see this hybrid at work here, and it's just fascinating, and I'm very proud that he's our president. Or take his calculated statements on Islam. Rather than kissing up to Iran, he actually downplayed that whole relationship and suggested that Islam hated our country. As you're aware, if you've been on this channel any length of time, you'll know that I've listed the 110 violent texts, the intolerant, tyrannical text that the founder wrote. And in fact, Donald Trump was accurate with that. That Islam, by its nature, if you read the text of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Hadith, it generates a lot of hate toward infidel or non-Muslim regimes and nations. But that's not even what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the idea that when he went to Saudi Arabia and the possibility of a relationship being, fractured if, in fact, the Saudi Arabians do not start to get a handle on the terror groups. This includes ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and other groups that they have funded in the past, possibly indirectly, I'm not saying directly, but indirectly even the funding of the bombing of the 911 towers. And we know that all these ISIS people are all Sunni. They're all, the extreme religious purists, kind of the Quaker version of Christianity. I mean, these people, there's no alcohol allowed. They've been on the prohibitions forever. I mean, this is a very religious country, very extremist religious. And Donald Trump gets that. And so he played that. And so as much as he can, I don't know, even Donald Trump, as brilliant as he is, again, you've got 110 violent texts of Muhammad that have been in there since 630 AD. People actually believe those texts. They're axiomatic. They're unchanging. They're immutable. But I think Donald might make some headway with the government there for them to crack down on the extremists. These are the people that are the immediate existential threat to your and my safety and our families on planes, on jets. They're coming up with these laptop bombs now. This kind of stuff. and Saudi Arabians are well able, with their private police, with their government forces, to become a big ally in fighting extremist radical Islamic terror. Again, I think anyone's barking up the wrong tree to think they can change in the entirety of Islam. It's a hateful religion. It's an intolerant religion. It's definitely not the Beatitudes. It's not the Decalogue of Moses from Mount Sinai, and it's not the Constitution or the Bill of Rights of the United States of America. There's lots and lots of dark sayings in there. And again, they're transcendent, they're timeless, and they're axiomatic. And if some young Muslim kid somewhere on a computer one day reads it in Arabic and something triggers him, who knows what it is, but one of those texts in the surahs could trigger him to become a terrorist. So that's an ongoing problem. But Donald's done a lot to use the Saudi leverage, and specifically this $350 billion arms deal. I mean, Lockheed Martin and a bunch of other defense contractors are going to have a lot of money for the next few decades building just for the Saudi Arabian military. And this is another counterbalance to the aggressive Iranian mullahs over there in Tehran. I mean, Obama just about blew the Saudis off the map with his mullah hugging over there with Iran and the $150 billion deal that he gave the Iranians. I mean, it was disgusting. And the Saudi Arabians, for all their faults, have been a more reliable ally than Iran. And so this is a brilliant stroke of foreign policy that Donald Trump has pulled off already in Riyadh. And the Saudi king personally likes him because he speaks from his gut. He travels with his family. Like the Saudis, their family members participate in the government. Well, so does Donald Trump. They have a lot in common, and they both have a lot of money, and they both respect each other. And you could see that this tangible friendship developing between those two leaders, and that's a good thing for America. It's also a good thing if he decides to turn the forces of the founding country of Islam, Saudi Arabia, Mecca, the two most holiest sites exist there. If he was to turn all that energy and ability and intelligence in the Islamic world against ISIS, Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and other destructive radical Islamic groups. Finally, he's going to appeal to the Saudis to start to find mullahs and imams and other people who can begin to teach the people a more moderate or loving or kind version of Islam. Now, that is, if he can pull that off, he's not just an Andrew Jackson, he's more of a Charlemagne. I mean, a world leader who could bring peace and solidarity to the entire planet. I mean, look at his success with China. He's already gotten great trade concessions, and it's going to affect our domestic markets and the ability of Americans to get great paying jobs here. He's renegotiating NAFTA. He's gotten the appeal and replacement of Obamacare through the House. He's working on deregulation and lowering taxes. He's got 600 companies bidding over the wall. And if the left-wing loony judges would leave him alone, he'd begin to get through his extreme vetting program, what he calls a ban, but actually it's just extreme vetting of security measures in the immigration policies. If these left-wing bench judges would leave him alone, obey the Constitution, and let him run as the chief executive that we, the people elected, let him run his own foreign policy and immigration policy. These judges should be imprisoned.
So here we go again on the Foxy News Network, the biggest Islamist sympathizers, the disinformation network regarding Islam, the ones who promote this, quote, so-called moderate Islam. So they had Dr. Khan in there, slick-talking woman, who was telling us that, reform in Islam is possible, but she doesn't quote from the surahs, chapter 5 or chapter 4, regarding the persecution of women and the persecution of Jews and Christians that were spoken by the prophet himself. So this is all taqiyya. This woman is slickly lying about what Islam really is. And she's actually recruiting people to become Muslims on Fox News today. I mean, it's disgusting. And, this is a very evil ideology. There's no putting a happy face on it. There is no good version of Islam. If you read it in the original Arabic, there's 110 violent verses against infidels. Who is this woman kidding? And so, this is the same old broken record we're going to hear from Islamists that are using taqiyya, that are trying to make it look moderate. But the fact is, they hate the kufr, and they want to kill the infidel. And that's just the way it is. I mean, that was the way the founder was. The founder was a murderous man. They've done historical and theological revisionism. And the way they've done it is to try to make Muhammad look like this jovial, peaceful Jesus Christ. And the nerve of the Fox News analysts today. I mean, the commentators on there like an idiot saying, yes, Christianity reformed itself. Well, what an idiot. The people that were, if there were people in the counter crusades that murdered or did atrocities against Muslims, I guarantee it was in the minority. And the ones that did aren't Christians anyway, because there's nowhere in the New Testament, in the founder's words of Jesus Christ, where you can find Jesus telling people to be intolerant toward anybody. This just doesn't happen in history, and it's not in the Bible. It's not in the New Testament. So there's no words of Jesus that anyone can point to and say, I have a right to be intolerant toward infidels. But there is in the Quran. And this woman lied. She practiced her taqiyya right there on Fox News. And the idiot talking heads there on Fox News who don't know anything theologically, or is talking about, yes, the Christians reformed themselves. Well, those people weren't Christians. When they died, they probably didn't go to heaven. If they were murderers or oppressors or burned people at the stake for wrong reasons, attacked Tyndale and Wycliffe for printing the Bibles in modern English, they weren't Christians, because Jesus said in Luke 9:55, you know not what manner of spirit you're of. Love everyone. If these people don't believe just like we believe, show them by your love. Don't persecute them. But the words of Muhammad aren't the same. And this is where Fox News and the idiots out there keep confusing this. The words of, there's nothing in the Beatitudes, there's nothing in the Gospels, there's nothing in the epistles that call for Christians to be intolerant to anyone. They're called to love and serve other people. Those are the words of Jesus. There's plenty of verses in the words, the eternal, immutable, axiomatic, mathematically precise Arabic language of Muhammad, which tell them, like he lived. Jesus didn't kill anybody, chop anyone's heads off. Muhammad did. So I don't understand why they don't see these multitude of verses from this violent founder called Muhammad, who was a false prophet. And by the way, the woman says, yes, we love Jesus, we love the Torah, we love the Gospels. They love their own version of the Torah and the Gospel and their own version of Jesus. It's not the same Jesus. So this woman just lied out through her teeth very slickly on Fox News, and gullible Americans buy it. Yeah, maybe Muslim is a peaceful religion. Maybe the radicals have it wrong. Maybe ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they're not interpreting the Quran right. I mean, we need to read these modern scholars. It's all baloney. It's a very violent religion. This woman is not really a Muslim. She'd be considered an infidel by the ones who practice 130 AD originalist, literalist, original Arabic Islam. They're the ones that are correct of what Islam and the founder was really like. These other people are trying to make it into a different religion. I mean, if you're a Sufi, call yourself a Sufi. Don't call yourself a Muslim. Because Sufis believe in peace and tolerance, and like Rumi, and he talks like a poet. He talks like a Krishna or a peaceful Hindu or a Buddhist or a Confucianist. I mean, he's not really a Muslim. And so the ones that are peaceful aren't Muslims, lady. And if you are believing in peace and tolerance, and you say you believe in the real Jesus who rose from the dead and who is God in the flesh, you don't believe that. You believe he's just a prophet second to Muhammad. So your Jesus isn't our Jesus. It's not the Jesus of the Gospels. And Jesus never commanded anyone to be violent toward anyone, whereas Muhammad did. End of story.
Islam. That is something that has to come within the Muslim world, and that is being waged not just through media, but centers like the Observatory at Al-Azhar University, where we have banks of scholars. I was just there in April. Brilliant Islamic scholars online dealing with real-time jihadist ideology from Dabiq and their other magazines. So we're doing this in real time because we ourselves as Muslims have been ignorant.
Well, it's such an important perspective, Dr. Khan. Thank you for being with us.
But as long as Donald Trump sticks to script and goes over there and renegotiates the G7 situation with the GNP and the national defense budgets of those countries contributing more to NATO, this whole situation in Saudi Arabia, the $350 billion defense deal. I mean, what he's
pulled off already in the first day of his trip is amazing. And I think, he's not a pushover. He's American. He's Americana. He loves this country, and he is saving this country, certainly, from certain perdition. Had Hillary Clinton gone in, it would have deteriorated more. There would have been an Iranian strengthening. There would have been a disbalance in the Middle East. Saudi Arabians would have been pulling out their hair, and there could have been a World War III begun right there in the Middle East. Had Hillary Clinton, that little war hawk, criminal, corrupt woman with no common sense, with no wisdom, into her own sense of power, her own ego, if that woman had been elected, that crazy, corrupt woman, we would all be up a creek without a paddle. We are here to honor our founding fathers and the eternal and transcendent principles of liberty and freedom. Freedoms they espouse in creating the greatest form of government for freedom, liberty, and prosperity that this world has ever known or ever will know. Enshrined in those heavenly documents, those sacred and majestic documents of our founding fathers, is that all men under heaven are created equal and created in the imago Dei, the very image of God, and have inalienable rights endowed to them by the Creator. Let no man transgress this. As American patriots, we will fight to our last dying breath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Time is running out on freedom. It's time for you and I to take a stand for our U.S. Constitution, for our liberties, for our newly elected president, and for the new Congress of the United States of America. We need to hear from you. This is Federico Cardella with Inspo News. We're going to tell you just like it is. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.